Good afternoon, Christian woman. I hope this video finds you well today. You know, I was just thinking, I was out at a restaurant earlier today, this morning, and I overheard a man, it looked like it was part of a little family, with a little toddler. And the toddler got up, to do something, and the father, we'll say he's the father for this example, I don't know, if that was a father, could have been an uncle, said to the toddler, wait your turn, and the toddler listened. Looked like the toddler was maybe about, 2 years old, 3 years old, and it got me to thinking about conversations I've had over the years with everybody. When I've worked with families, when I've worked with adolescents, children, married couples, premarital couples, individuals, men, women, all kinds of folks. And the topic of boundaries comes up a lot. So this will always be a topic that I speak about. I thought about that little toddler and, some of the challenges people have setting boundaries, especially as Christians, because many of us, and rightfully so, are taught to be a cheerful giver, to be kind, to be charitable. All true, all wonderful. However, we very seldom hear the message of boundaries are healthy. You can be a good person with a good heart and have boundaries, whether that's at work, whether that's in your intimate person relationship, marriage, friendship, neighbors, wherever. When you set a boundary with folks, and of course, always look at this in context, because everyone has unique circumstances. You have to look at this with a lens of what your particular circumstance is. If you set a boundary and the person, whether you're dating or not, acts like they didn't hear the boundary and they continue to violate your boundary, or they start to treat you differently because of the boundary, or they give you pushback on the boundary, just know that's normal. People don't necessarily like boundaries. They don't like when you violate their boundaries, but when you set a boundary, they don't necessarily like it. It is your job to uphold those boundaries because, one, it doesn't teach the person how to manage their own boundaries in their own lives, right? If we enable those behaviors, and it does us a disservice when we don't place a healthy boundary. The reason why I bring up that toddler is, think about it. As children, as young, let's just say kindergarten, first grade, what are we taught? Walk in a single file line. Don't talk out of turn. Raise your hand. Ask for permission to go to the bathroom. What do we learn in some homes? Don't fight with your sibling. Don't talk back. Do your chores. There's an sundry of things you can think about, right? As young as that little child is, that child listened to that person that said, wait your turn. So when someone acts like they don't understand your boundaries and it's the end of the world, oh my God, you're setting a boundary. Remember, that very same person who was a child knew what a boundary was. The world has boundaries. The world has rules, laws. We can't just do whatever we want without a consequence. So they're not confused. They just don't want to hear or abide by your boundary. Windows, doors, territories to houses, those are boundaries. We're surrounded by them. So when someone says, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with this boundary you put on me, or whatever they say, you can say, you know what? You deal with boundaries every day. Do you go into your office and just hold off and smack your boss or tell your boss off? Well, some people do, but that's a consequence. The consequence comes with that. We're talking about for the rest of us that don't do that. You just can't do whatever you want without a boundary. So they are no strangers. They are not strangers since little kids to boundaries. So don't let it fool you. You can be kind, you can be a charitable giver, and you can always also have boundaries. Two things can be true at the same time. Ciao.